Hey, welcome to day 9. Great to see you guys. We are on our Lenten journey to the cross, doing a daily video devotional. You have been amazing at liking this and sharing this. It helps get the word out, and we want the whole world to know, hey, there is a plan for the Lenten season that can add value to your life. And so great job liking these and sharing these. It's helping. My name is John, if we haven't hung out before, and we are on a journey. Today, what we're going to be doing is reading the New Testament reading, the one-year Bible produced by our friends at Tyndale. Every single day, according to the day of the calendar year, they offer a reading, an Old Testament, New Testament, Psalm, or Proverb. So what I do in less than 10 minutes is I kind of read beforehand, and I look to see what stands out to me, and then I just share with you guys what my observations are. I've also been bringing to you not only this Bible, but resources. This is one of my favorite commentaries. I'll be mentioning and continue to mentioning William Barclay, his commentary, but this one by N.T. Wright. N.T. Wright is an incredible scholar, especially when you need to understand more context of what we're reading. So very easy to read. I have a lot of these commentaries from N.T. Wright. This one's on Luke. It's called Luke for Everyone. I'm like, oh, that sounds like I could actually understand it. So you can order that on Amazon or wherever you buy your books, and thought you'd want to know that. If you want to go ahead and open up to the reading today, this is where we are today for day 9. The New Testament reading for today is Mark 15. Mark 15. And I love the Gospel of Mark. We're almost done with Mark. It's just 16 chapters. And then we're going to start to spend a lot of time in the Gospel of Luke. I'm very excited about that as well. But Mark 15, as you've been tracking along, this is getting very, very close to really what we're preparing for. Good Friday and Easter Sunday. And Mark 15 says this: very early in the morning, the chief priests with the elders, the teachers of the law, and the whole Sanhedrin made their plans. And they have been scheming, and their plans are set in stone. They must crucify Jesus. He has become a threat to everything that they stand for. He has become a threat to the power that they hold, and they must get rid of Jesus. They make their plans. So they bound Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate is an important person within certainly Holy Week, as we're here on Friday and getting ready for the crucifixion. Pilate, he's the governor. They're in their region, in their province. And so the way that this works, because you may be wondering, why is Pilate getting involved? Who is Pilate? So quick context that I think is helpful is the Jews are an oppressed people. They're oppressed by Rome. The Jews are living within the Roman Empire, and there's some things that they can do, but there's definitely one thing they cannot do. The Jews back then could not sentence anyone to death. They had to get the permission from the governor of their province, and in this case, where they're located, that governor is Pilate. Maybe you've heard of him as Pontius Pilate, but Pilate is the Roman governor. He has a lot of authority, but he reports to the person that has all of the authority, Tiberius, who is the emperor. He is Tiberius Caesar Augustus. And so Tiberius is the guy in charge of all of the Roman Empire, and you can read up about him, fascinating story. And what we need to know about this is Pilate, who is the governor of their province, he didn't want any commotions to get reported upstairs to the emperor. Really, his goal was to keep the status quo. And that's important to remember as we dig into what I think our key takeaway can be for today. Pilate, he didn't want any rebellions to take place, certainly there in Jerusalem. He wanted to snuff out any things that could become a big thing, again, being alerted to emperor. He wanted the emperor to think that he had that province under control. And so the Jews, they're going to Pilate. Why? Well, the Jews did not have the authority to sentence anyone to death. They needed the permission from Pilate, and this is why we're reading about Pilate right now. They bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Verse 2, "Are you the king of the Jews?" asked Pilate. "You have said so," Jesus replied. The chief priests accused him of many things, so again Pilate asked him, "Aren't you going to answer? See how many things they are accusing you of." This is a very difficult moment, certainly for Pilate. And he's trying to understand, why do these guys want to kill Jesus? Verse 5, but Jesus still made no reply. Pilate, it says, was amazed. We're going to come back to Pilate in just a moment, but there's a part of our reading today that is really important for you to understand. You can hold to the assurance that Jesus Christ really did die, but on the third day really did raise to life. If you keep reading in this section today, you're going to get to the end of our reading in verse 42. And so I want to read this, and then we'll come back to the beginning of our reading. Verse 42, just to kind of skip ahead, what they end up doing is, yes, Pilate sentenced Jesus to death. He's crucified on a Roman cross. He is dead. He is killed. They didn't ever make mistakes. The Romans were great at crucifying people. There's no opportunity, there's no chance in the world that he wasn't really dead. In fact, even scholars of all kinds all believe that Jesus really did die. He is a person of history. For you to not believe in Jesus would be like you not believing in Abraham Lincoln. That's how documented the person of Jesus is in history. Even scholars, there's one scholar that comes to mind at Vanderbilt University that's an atheist. He's actually a leading atheist and is very outspoken about it. He is very clear, no, Jesus really was a person and he really did die. So the question isn't, did Jesus die? Even atheist scholars believe Jesus died. The question, where there's a lot of debate, is, did he rise? And for our faith, everything hinges on the fact that we would say, yes, he did rise. Our God is not dead. Jesus really did get up on the third day. And one of the best ways that you and I can defend that is right here what I'm about to read. It says this in verse 42. It was preparation day, so as evening approached, look at verse 43. Joseph of Arimathea, a prominent member of the council who was himself waiting for the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. This is a big deal. If I were to ask you, hey, where was Jesus buried? I want to equip you to quickly answer that. The answer is in a borrowed tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. In fact, if you remember your reading, if you were going through the reading on February 13th, we read this on February 13th. Matthew gives us a little bit more detail on this. Check it out. February 13th, the reading from Matthew 27 says, in verse 57, as evening approached, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body, and Pilate ordered that it be given to him. Verse 59, Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and placed it in his own new tomb. His own new tomb. Why does this matter? Here's why it matters. Joseph of Arimathea was a prominent leader in their city. It would be the equivalent of you and I wondering where a prominent leader might live. Let's just say like the President of the United States. I think we can find the White House. This was a big deal. Everyone knew where the tomb was of Joseph of Arimathea. It wasn't tucked away in some backwater area of Jerusalem. No, this tomb, like in many ways, would have like an address. Everyone knew where this tomb was. The fact that it was Joseph of Arimathea's tomb is one of the greatest ways that you and I can say, no, he really did rise from the grave, because everyone knew where Joseph of Arimathea's tomb was. When that tomb was empty, they could all go see it for themselves, which many, in fact, did. Just tuck that away. We'll talk a little bit more about great ways that you and I can defend our conviction and belief that he did rise from the grave. Joseph of Arimathea, his tomb is one of those. I want to finish up. We got a couple more minutes before we hit the 10-minute mark. As I read, it said this in verse 5, but Jesus still made no reply, and Pilate was amazed. The part that stood out to me the most today is this simple question, and here's the question I want to present to you today. Are you a peacekeeper or a peacemaker? Are you a peacekeeper or a peacemaker? Have you ever thought about the difference between those two? Pilate, he was a peacekeeper. Peacekeepers, they make it their point and their mission to maintain the status quo. Not so with peacemakers. In this story, in this part of our reading, we see that one person is a peacekeeper. His name is Pilate. One person is a peacemaker. His name is Jesus. In fact, you can read all throughout the Gospels in how Jesus was a peacemaker. They do not keep the status quo. And this is what we see throughout the ministry of Jesus Christ. Oftentimes, you and I, we can get a little confused on, we're supposed to keep the peace. And when doing that, we don't want to upset people, especially people in authority, like Pilate was doing with the emperor who was above him. And in doing so, you and I can be led astray, getting on the wrong track. Because we're followers of Jesus, we are followers of the one that said, I'm going to be a peacemaker. He is the Prince of Peace. He came to bring peace. We're going to see this certainly in the triumphal entry. This is who Jesus is. He wasn't a keeper of peace. He was a maker of peace. He made peace possible, peace with God, peace with humanity. And this was not maintaining the status quo. In fact, it cost him everything. This is all we have today for day 9. We'll see you guys tomorrow for day 10.